Okay, I just wanted to do a little rough and raw video about some of the differences in working with Scrintal and Heptabase when it comes to one specific use case, which would be taking a source with a bunch of highlights. Like we have a bunch of articles here. We're not going to do a ton of highlights, but we'll do a few. Let's see. All right, how about this one? My content is king. 5. That seems manageable. Okay, so we have 5 highlights. These are obviously they're excerpts from an article. Yet, while this is useful, this isn't really beginning to understand things. Sometimes the complex topics, we need to be able to take these and move the ideas around, see them visually to understand what's missing between them, and sometimes even break them into separate pieces to begin to understand them, which is essentially what apps like Scrintal and Heptabase are meant to do. So I just want to play around. My purpose here is not to review or to educate, but just to explore and share while I'm exploring. So Scrintal, let's start here. If I were to do that here, we don't have an import for Readwise in Scrintal. So first thing I would need to do is create a new board, and we'd probably give it this title. We do the same thing over here. This is Heptabase. Okay, now we're at the same place with both. What I would do here probably is begin to move these over. We're not going to do all of them. I just need 3 or 4 for us to be able to see the fundamental differences between the two and, I don't know, come to a conclusion of, yeah, see this. First problem we face here is the initial input on building a card down there is going to have you put everything into the title field, but the title field's limited because it's a title field. So you actually need to click in to each to bring it in. And to make that a little more clear, let me show you this again. See, this ends with spending more. If I had just done that here, whoops. If I had just done this, see it says write as a title. And I just paste there, it cuts off, right? So actually what I have to do is click in after I make it and then come in. And that would be the same for this. I need to toggle this. And then here, I think 4 of these is enough for us to work with. I toggled that the wrong one. Yeah, I did. Okay. So these are, you have 3 options here. You have one that'll show you the content or the beginning of the content because the box sizes are fixed. So if this, for example, this one here runs on, it just cuts it off. Same with this one. The other options here are where to just show you the title or where to show the title with the box this size. Since we're not adding titles here, this is what we're going to go with. There is another option of how you could have dealt with this, which would have been to do this and come in and just drop all these in. But the problem with doing it from Readwise is all those, the tag, I mean the words from all of those buttons are going to come in, tag, favorite. So you got to go and clean that up and make sure that you separate them correctly so you know where they break. And then you could cut, create a new card, paste. As far as I know, this is the fastest way to do this, which is fine when you're dealing with 5. But when you're dealing with something that has, say I had a book on writing, I could have like 150 highlights. I'm not going to cut and paste. So that's the first fundamental difference here, I would say, because in Heptabase, how I would deal with this is I would go over to highlights here or hit Command 5. And I would look for the article that I was working with, which is content is king. And you could also search for it, but I've found that recently sometimes this has been a little weird. So I think maybe they've been messing with the back end a little bit to improve it. Sometimes it goes through periods. So here's our quotes. Why do we only have 4 here? Interesting. Where's this one? Oh, you know why? Because when you leave words up here, it filters. So for example, if I had a bunch of quotes from this source and I only wanted the one that had the word favorite in it, it would filter it. So yeah, that's what the problem was. Here's our other one. And that's it. Now I have them there. So to start with, you can see that there's a fundamental difference in just getting stuff in. I know that Scrintal is working on a Readwise plugin, not plugin, but a Readwise interoperability. So you can bring in your Readwise stuff. I also know that they're working on some AI stuff that you would be able to bring something like this in and have it separate them all into separate squares for you. So this is just how things are now. Things are always changing with apps. I just kind of wanted to explore the differences here. There are also some similarities in, let's see, if we were to, let's just name these because they beg to be named. Test 2. There's a reason I'm doing this. It's because in order to connect them, it's going to make my life easier than having to figure out which of the things named untitled are the ones I want to connect. Okay, so now we want to connect this to test 2. I forgot. Here you don't use the @ symbol. Here you use the plus. Let's connect to test 2. And let's also connect to test 4. And check it out. Oh, I named 2 of them test 2. That's funny. There we go. Now let's connect test 3. No, let's do it the other way. Let's connect test 4 to test 3. I did it again. So we have automatic connections here. We also have alignments. So you can see that those are edge to edge now, and like that. You can also center them together. Over here you don't have that. But they do, can you see that it's snapping to a certain grid? See, look. I can get it there, and the next one it's going to line up. But I can't get it between those two because it's snapping. So you can get it lined up. You're just not going to get the grid lines to tell you that you're doing it. And there's no centering. Nothing to indicate centering. But they both have this. See, You can work with these things. And you have the identical thing in Heptabase. Let's just move these out. Go here, tidy up. I'm not great at this. Obviously, I don't use this feature often. I usually line things up manually. The one difference here is you have some layout setups for you. And it's such a tiny gripe, but when we're talking about user interface and user experience, it is all tiny gripes pretty much. I think this spacing is too small from the automatic lining, because when you get out to here, it looks like one document. Even at here, it could be easy to confuse this with one document. Whereas if they were spread out maybe that much apart, let's take a look at that. Out here, yeah, it's one document, right? But right here, I can tell that those are 4, even at this small. I can't even read the text. And then obviously here I can tell. And I think that's a big difference. I think that's important. All right. So you might have also noticed automatic connectors, not automatic connectors. Actually, there are. But the problem is none of these are connected, right? Because these are just content blocks. Sorry, not content blocks. I'm reading the title here. These are quote blocks. So there's no links in them. You know, I had to go in here and add links to these. And you can't, well, I mean, you can add a note. I guess what I'm trying to say here is there's a difference between how this quote block functions from how a card functions. See how I have different menu options up there? I haven't that. But if we go here, you notice there's nothing about color. Whereas here, there is. So if I wanted to go over here and I wanted to make sure that I knew that these, whoops, I don't know what I just did. Oh, I duplicated. I think I deleted one that I wanted. What are we missing? There we go. Test 1, 2. We gotta go to 4 and get that one out. Now, am I wrong or was... that's why. Or is there not a connection between these two? Yeah, it's not connecting visually to test 4. That's interesting. That must be a bug. Let's pull that out and try that again. What are my hotkeys here? I never remember my hotkeys. Let's just pull it from here so you can see what this looks like. Test 1. Interesting. It should be connecting to test 4 when you drop it in. I don't know what happened. So, a little bug there. We'll go over here and see this little eyeball down here. Click that. You would get automatic connections. But because these aren't connected, if I want to do that, what I have to do here is, once again, these videos are explorations. I don't come into these pretending to be an expert. Okay. Now those are connected. I don't know how often you would do this and want automatic connections between quotes. More often than not, what you're probably going to be doing is, at least for the case that I'm talking about, here's a quote. Here's my thoughts on it. My thoughts on number one. Now you could deal with this two ways. You can either connect those, or you can really connect them. And we'll say, let's create a new card here. Number two, just to save us some time. You can do that, or as we said before, you can do this. Whoops, 32. Okay, not the best naming for me here. Let's give this a more recognizable name. How about ebony elephant? Should be able to find that one pretty quick. There we go. And you turn that on and off. Let's leave that on now so we can look at the difference between that and drawing a connection. Over here you have your automatic connections. Since this one doesn't want to connect here, let's do it manually. And now let's take a look at the differences here. What options do I have for the automatically created ones? I can reverse the arrowhead, and that's it, or delete it. So I can move that arrowhead over here or there. That's it. And while we're here, I think we were trying to color these earlier, right? Before I hit duplicate. And over here, so check this out. See, these ones won't color. You have to put it in a square to be able to color it. Okay, automatically created link. What can we do with this? Nothing. So I double click there, it tries to make a card instead. I think that's why this is great. Also, this arrow needs just a little bit of work. Can we? I don't think it's supposed to look like that. And I don't think it's supposed to do this. Just a minor thing. But then when we go to the connection we actually made, look at this. What's this? Oh, cool. I can put stuff in here. This is, I think, really useful for these square ones. What else can I do? Change the color. We don't have whatever color you want. Just 6 colors, but it's really useful. Now, what are these? These are the ends. So you have a pointer arrow style. Then we also have the full triangle arrow style. And then we have I don't want one at all. But if we were to put that there, then we have this, which swaps it, swaps the head. We also have this, which is the same kind of arrow that we have going on over in Scrintal. But then we also have these. And you see they move around. See how they jump around the box? You also have the ability, now this is just on these that you make, not on the automatic connection. So let's turn this off so you don't get confused. I could say, no, I want that here. Maybe I have certain space constraints. There's no adding a second point here and making crazy lines. But you do have the option to emphasize. Say this is a very light connection, but maybe I want it to be a really strong connection. Thicker line. Maybe it's an insinuated connection. I can do a dotted line, and even the dotted lines I can emphasize. Any other things? No, I think we covered it all. We don't have those options over here. It's just, those aren't options. What else do we have that we can talk about here? I think one thing that's important to talk about is what is a pretty big differentiating factor. Let's say I need to break this quote down. I can't do anything really with it here. I mean, I could, but I'd be editing the quote here. often you don't necessarily edit people's quotes. The point of having it as a quote is you want it as is. But let's say I'm just here to break down the idea. I'm not here to preserve the quote. Let's create a new card. And we'll just say this. Interesting. So there's some different ideas here. Okay, let's, boom. You can break these things out. And if you wanted to, you have your automatic connections, but then you can also work with it how you want, which is maybe you want to say this, but since this one follows, you want that to lead there. And you can begin to break things out into pieces faster. And you just can't do that here. The only option that you have here would be to, unless there's a feature here that I'm not aware of, it's not in here. So I'd have to cut it. And then, oops, remember, can't do it for the title. And then paste it in. And then, of course, we'd want to connect them. So there's a pretty big difference there, I think. Other things. Oh, one other. Actually, let's do two more things. I don't want to make this too long. We can grab this and we can say, create a section. And here's section 1. I want to find section 1 later. We have, whoops, where is it? Sidebar, right here. Table of contents, there it is, section 1. Another thing about this, say I'm over there and oh, everything's in the wrong place. I'm at the wrong zoom level. We have a focus mode, which I'll show you in a second. We have navigation mode, which is just the difference between mouse and trackpad navigation. But this is what we're looking for. I'm not going to up, I'm not going to down, I'm just going to click it once. And it fits to screen. We have that over here too, just in a different way. Fit all to screen, boom, there you go. But what we don't have is the ability to create a frame, at least as far as I'm aware of. So I can't group things on larger boards. The only way I could really do that would be to visually separate them. Put those here, let's do a duplicate. Would be to do something like that. Oh, these are separate. Now, did you notice something there? That was gray out. This is the focus mode that we saw over here. Talk about focus mode. Let's click on this. See, everything disappears. If I turn focus mode off, it stays like this. But what's nice about this is I can turn focus mode on, but that's extreme. I can't see anything, right? So let's go here and drop it to that. And now it just grays out a little bit and we can find the right level, which is probably right there for me. And that does it here. I don't know that we have a way to adjust that, at least not here, maybe buried in the menus. I said I wanted to show you one other thing. One other big difference here is when it's actually a two-parter, how we deal with multiple objects at the same time. Say I need to compare and contrast two things. Let's start over here. How I would do that is, say we need test 4 and test 2. We need to compare those two. I'm just going to double click. Oops. Am I wrong? No, I just did it wrong. And double click. You don't want to double click up there apparently. And now I can look at them. You know, we got your backlinks and everything here. Shows you what boards they appear on. They show you the links that are going out, links that are going in. Now you can compare and contrast these two together. You can even pop out another one, and you can even begin to, whoops, what did I just do? You see that? I just dragged. How did I do that? You can drag between boards, but only in this view. Okay. So that is not a fundamental difference between the two. I discovered that on accident. I did not know it existed. I know that the old version of Scrintal, you used to see handles here for each block. Actually, I think it was on this side. But yeah, you can drag between boards. Okay, that's really good to know. That's going to change how I talk about the next section. But real quick, we want to just kind of get a sense of these three. Maybe that's the order that I want to think about them in. Oh no, it's, you know what? I want them in numeric order. Well, test 2 is first, and then, okay, test 3, test 4. And then I can talk about those. Okay? If I want to do that over here, double click. Let's turn off the focus mode right now. See what happens? Instead of popping it up, it puts it in the sidebar. It puts them all in the sidebar. So let me move out of the way. So what you can do here is collect all of these here and then do the same. Begin to order them in the order that you want them, and then you can work through them. And I also forgot to show you on these cards, you also have backlinks and you have whiteboards. It shows, because sections exist here, it shows you the section that it's inside of. And if you had tags, it would show you tags, same as Scrintal. The reason I'm showing this is when you're breaking down research, at a certain point you want to bring it back together. So you take it from one piece, you break it into many small pieces and understand how the pieces work together. Then you want to bring it back together. How would you do that in these two? In this one, you probably would create a new card, open it up, and copy and paste. Now, you could drag, but the reason I wouldn't, actually, let's test something. What happens if I option drag? There you go. You don't need to copy and paste. You can option drag, and you're going to get all of that stuff into your new document. And then you can work with this. How would you do that here? Well, let's say I have all of this stuff open. I just want these three. So let's create a new card. You can do this in reverse too. This could be in the sidebar and your stuff could be on here, but since they're already open there, the other thing about this is you can open these up as much as you want on here. So what I would probably do, you have option, oops, I grab the title. What I want to do is grab the card. So option drag, I want to drag the whole card over. Can I do that? Not from there. But I can from over here. Option drag, drop it in. What's our next one? Ebony elephant, drop it in. And it maintains the color. No, does it? No, it doesn't. It just happens to be blue when you drop it in. And then where's this one? It's that one, okay. We will option drag that in. So I've got them all in one document here. Let's close all those. Let's open this over here so we can look at it a little bit better. Interesting, right? I didn't get this. I got a summary, right? So I have a click. I have to click to go to that. And it's going to open the card. So if I really wanted to copy and paste that stuff, what I would have had to do is do this, where you're dragging the quote block in. So if I wanted the quote block there, I would have had to go to the handle here and pull that there. right? So you can start pulling your stuff together. But what if I just want, we don't have any thoughts in here. These are my thoughts. Let's see what happens. So you can begin to actually organize your thoughts here in a similar way to how you could here. You just pull the things in and you option click it so they stay in the original place. So when you're done here, you can be left with this map, but then you could also have the beginnings of a document. And both of them, they're serviceable as writing places. You could sit here and actually do your writing in either of these. I don't remember how you do it here. There may be a way to do it there. I'm not sure right now, but fastest way would be to right click that and then open a new tab. And now you have a writing. You can even get a focused writing space. So those are just a little bit of the differences between the two. As far as the interfaces, I think they're pretty similar. You've got sidebars. Just what you get in the sidebar is a little bit different. I don't want to go into all that because there's a ton of stuff here that isn't over here. There's a ton of stuff in the left sidebar that isn't in this left sidebar. But I don't know, just wanted to explore them, see what you guys think. Anybody use these apps? Have any thoughts? Let me know.